How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Cinemaholic Productions. My name is Spencer, and I am a cinemaholic. And joining me today from South Korea, so Cinemaholics Go International, is
Stephen Parry, and I am a cinemaholic today.
today and every day.
Thank
And
you.
Steven likes to join us for these tentpole movies because today we are finally talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. So, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 was an extremely successful MCU movie. It was a gamble, right? Because these were all characters people didn't really know about. It cast some actors that people didn't know much about, especially Chris Pratt. He was the schlubby guy from Parks and Rec. They got him super cut. He's a total hunk now. And he plays Star-Lord. And the first movie kind of tells us about this team and how this team assembles, kind of like the Avengers now talking about it. But Stephen, what were your thoughts on the first movie?
I really liked the original Guardians. Probably not as much as most people. I still have only seen it once, and I need to go back and revisit it. But I was very pleasantly surprised, and I think that's how it's been with Ant-Man and Doctor Strange and a lot of these movies that kind of are the underdogs. They feel the pinch, and so they go the extra mile to make it really pay off for the audience.
Yeah, well, like you, I also really enjoyed it. In fact, Guardians 1 is my favorite MCU movie. It blew me away. It really surprised me. And part of it is because of the tone. I really kind of like the irreverent kind of like swagger that it just like had in the first movie. From the opening scene, I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be great. I actually saw Guardians of the Galaxy one day, and then I saw it the next day after, which man, I love that movie. I thought it was so good, and I've seen it several times. I think it's just really well done, well structured. The only problem with it would be like the villain. I would say the villain was a little bit paper thin, but it seems like that's kind of how it is in the MCU, and maybe we'll talk about that more a little bit later. But James Gunn is back in the director's chair. He also wrote the movie, and same cast. And this one, I'll read the plot summary, says, set to the backdrop of awesome mixtape number 2, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, continues the team's adventures as they unravel the mystery of Peter Quill's true parentage. So, Stephen, does Guardians of the Galaxy 2 live up to the galaxy of hype surrounding it?
It's pretty good, Spence.
I'm super proud.
Okay, so it's my turn.
Yep.
So I thought it was a really good movie, and I thought it was on the stronger side for MCU movies. Um, I'm one of those guys that I'm. There are a few MCU movies that I love, and then a few that I like, and then some are just I'll watch it once and that's it. And Guardians 2 was a lot of fun, and it's actually the first movie I've seen here in Korea, and the movie theaters here are whack, dude, way weird. They have garlic popcorn. They sell fried squid on a stick, and everything here in Korea is like vertical. And so they built theater houses on top of each other. We were on the fourth story of this movie theater. So it was basically a skyscraper movie theater. So that was really cool. And it was cool getting to see a full audience of mostly Koreans and some expats like myself. And with the subtitles is kind of funny because like Rocket Raccoon would crack a joke and then there'd be a delay in the laughter. I would laugh really loud, and then it'd be like 3 seconds later, and all the Koreans would start laughing. But I felt like most of the humor was really natural, really funny, and he's really good at switching between the drama and the humor. And props to him, because I think the MCU sometimes kind of fails at that. They realize that they have formula that works, and they say, "Oh, cue the funny joke here." And James Gunn, you don't really feel like that. And Groot and Rocket were the highlights for me. I thought they blew it out of the water, and I loved the idea of ego. Um, Peter Quill or Chris Pratt's dad. And we'll probably get into spoilers later, right?
Yeah, we'll probably talk brief spoilers towards the end. Because yeah, there's a couple things I kind of would like to talk about. So yeah, it's been out. People have probably seen it.
Cool. But James Gunn has so much control over the movie. I mean, he doesn't leave things up to chance. The color palette is awesome. The action is great. The screenwriting is great. My biggest thing is the third act kind of lost me. There were some parts where I was like, I was kind of pulled out of it. And then there were a few, there was like one or two transitions that didn't work for me, and a few nitpicky things about the first two acts, but it's mostly the third act that I didn't hate it, but they're just, I don't know, it just lost me, and I got a little bit bored, which when we get into spoilers, we can talk about that.
Yeah, so I also really like this movie. I think honestly, it kind of stumbled a little in the beginning for me, but I did have some issues with the third act, and when we get into spoilers, we can kind of like clear those up a little bit maybe. But more Guardians for me, like just being with this team and these characters, it's just so much fun. I really like all of the characters on this team, and they kind of add a couple characters to this team. I watched the trailer, so I don't know how much I want to say about the who is on the team. But one thing I will say that just I really, really loved about this movie is kind of the emotional core to it. I feel like this one did a really cool thing kind of with a specific character. That's about as far as I will take it. But it has to do with Star-Lord as well, obviously, our protagonist. And I kind of really feel like Marvel has never really kind of gone into as complex kind of like thematic material as they did in this movie at certain points, which is weird because the Guardians are kind of like the goofballs of the MCU. You know, they're the thieves, the people who don't take things seriously, and who kind of just like, there's kind of the moral gray line where, you know, in this movie there's scenes where Rocket Raccoon is straight up like murdering people. So but yeah, I really liked it. I agree, Baby Groot was just so adorable in this movie. Like that little thing was
A highlight for me.
yeah, I think the highlight for me actually was Yondu. Like Yondu's storyline in this movie was awesome. I thought I was just like blown away because he was just some like side character in the first movie, just like, you know, some blue dude who always threatened to eat Peter Quill. And I like kind of how they brought some of the stuff from the first movie back. I thought that was just great. I also really, Kurt Russell's one of my favorite actors. I grew up watching The Thing, and Escape from New York is one of my favorite movies, and seeing Kurt Russell in the MCU was just like, it was so cool. Like he's so great, and that guy, his hairline, like wow. So yeah, I would straight up like I like this movie. I liked it a lot. There are gripes to this movie, but overall.
So sorry to cut you off. Where would you rank it among the 15? Since the first Guardian is your favorite, where would you put this one?
I'd say it's upper third, probably. That's probably where I'd put it. It would be really hard for me to rank. I know that Guardians 1 is my favorite, and then probably the Winter Soldier or Avengers 1 would be my second favorite. I love the Avengers 1, so probably Avengers 1, then Winter Soldier. But Guardians, it just like the first one surprised me so much that it's literally just was my favorite. I like the tone the best as well. So yeah, I'd say yeah, upper third. What about you? Would you put it like upper half at least?
Yeah, I'd probably put it upper half, towards maybe like towards 6 or 7, or probably 7 or 8.
Yeah, it's not as good as the first. I just want to get that
There,
out of the way.
there was one film critic though, just a local guy who I respect. He was saying it's the best one so far, and I'm not aiming this towards him, but there have been so many people who, whenever a new MCU movie comes out, they say, no, no, Steven, this one is the best yet, the best. And someone told that to me with Thor: Dark World. I saw that, the worst. I hate that movie.
Yeah,
Not
that
good.
one's the worst.
And it's like, guys, stop saying that. I know you're excited, but it's MCU. As great as they are, they're not gonna up the ante every time. I mean, it's possible, but it's hard to beat like the original Iron Man, original
Oh, man, I
Avenger,
forgot about Iron Man.
or Guardians. Are 3 really solid movies. And so when every time you tell me that the new one is the best, I find it a little bit offensive.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. Like I've heard that a lot too. Like everybody's always like, "Oh, no, this is the best one so far." And it's like my favorite points in the MCU, cuz they all start to feel kind of familiar at a certain point, like I like it the best when they kind of experiment with the tone a little bit. That's probably why I liked Guardians so much. But the other reason why I like Avengers so much is cuz it was such a gamble. They literally like were taking a huge risk making a movie that doesn't have any like setup. They expect you to walk in knowing who these characters are, and then watching kind of this team. It was so good. But anyways, we'll stay on Guardians. Do you want to get into spoilers right now?
Yeah, yeah. So my biggest thing is you have so many movies where it's in the third act, you're presented with the whole city is gonna explode, the whole world is gonna explode, and then in the case of Guardians of the Galaxy, the whole galaxy is gonna explode. And I understand kind of why they have to do that, because it is called Guardians of the Galaxy. But to me, something like Logan felt so much more personal, where it was narrowed down to just a few kids, and where he's saving a few kids. And part of the superhero genre is saving people. But when you're presented with several worlds where you only get a few second screen time, you don't know the stakes of any of those people. I just felt really disconnected from those stakes. And I was like, I don't care. Explode the Dairy Queen. Disney, you got your money out of Dairy Queen. So just explode it. And I guess what I appreciated most were like the relationships in that movie and stuff. And I don't know, maybe it didn't hurt Star-Lord enough to kill his own father and stuff like that. And so I don't know, I just felt, and then like the Pac-Man thing, that was a good recall to the joke before. But to me, I'm like, come on, let's get serious for a minute, and let's get to the emotion of what it feels like to kill your biological father. And so
Yeah,
Yandu, he did have a really good um monologue.
arc.
Yeah, yeah, a great monologue, but at the same time, I felt like maybe they dedicated a little bit too much emotion to him with like all the fireworks at the end and stuff like that. And so I don't know, Yandu didn't pay off as much for me, though I've only seen Guardians once, and so part of that is my bad. So how about you? What spoilers do you have?
Yeah, so just addressing, I totally agree with you. I feel like we didn't have to have the whole stuff on different planets, showing the planets being destroyed by the blue light, just like they always are. Except this time it was more like a blue mass, like a big blob. I felt like in that third act, that final confrontation with Ego, that the kind of logic of it all felt really kind of just like stupid to me in a way, because it was they had to get to the core of the planet to blow up the brain. It was like a literal brain, and I just felt like some of it was like, okay, you guys are literally just like making stuff up at this, which, yeah, I guess, I mean, you always make up stuff when you're writing a script, but it felt like it was just coming up with the rules to, it was making up its own rules as it went, and that was something that felt a little bit sloppy to me. I liked the Pac-Man thing. Like, it also didn't work for my friend who I saw it with. He was just like, that was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I was like, I kind of like it because Star-Lord is somebody who really never takes anything like too seriously, and so that's kind of what I dug about that scene. But my favorite plotline, like I said, was Yondu's, and it's because it was just super, super emotional to me. Like, they did a really good job kind of making him, because he's essentially Star-Lord's like foster parent. So he's like a guy who does have this emotional connection to him, and how he's like kicked out of the Ravengers, this thing that's super, super important to him throughout the entire first movie. I felt like it was really well set up, and I liked that emotional core to it. I did think that the part where he said, "He may have been your father, but I'm your daddy," was probably the worst line I've heard this year so far in a movie. Like, that did not work for me. But yeah, I really kind of dug that whole entire third act element. There's some really cool scenes. That scene where Yondu is on the spaceship and they get him, little baby Groot has to go get his
I love that.
yeah, the like hat or the mohawk thing that controls the arrow. That scene was awesome. Yeah, that was one of the best parts. And then the part where Rocket Raccoon is like laying all the traps for the people in the forest was just great. Yeah, overall, I really enjoyed this. I liked what they did with Nebula as well. People say she's the weakest part of the movie for her, but I kind of liked what they did with the whole entire like sister thing with Gamora. And yeah, like I said, just more of these characters always, I'm going to be down to go watch the Guardians go on some adventure. The gold people, I've also heard complaints about, but I kind of like the way they set up the conflict where Rocket steals the batteries. I thought that it was super funny to me. So it worked for me.
That was my other gripe with the third act. Them didn't push along this. It was just adding to the chaos. From what I could tell, it didn't add to the end result, except you get a nice little teaser at the end for them showing up and getting Adam Warlock in the next one. So I can understand it, but it would have been nice if it tied into somehow like the solution of blowing up Kurt Russell's oversized brain or something.
Right. Okay, one more question because we're going a little bit long, but what did you think of the David Hasselhoff cameo?
Dude, I think MCU or Disney's super powerful. I mean, they want Sylvester Stallone, they get Sylvester Stallone. They want Kurt Russell, they want David Hasselhoff. They just get what they want. I thought it was cool. What do you think?
I didn't even know that Stallone was in this movie till I watched the movie, and it was like, what? He is in this? Like, what is going on? Yeah, that was crazy. The David Hasselhoff cameo is super clever, and that's another one they set up earlier in the movie with the whole Knight Rider.
That one, I think that one worked. The Pac-Man, but Hasselhoff worked for me.
Fair enough. Well, let's go ahead and score this. Out of 10, Stephen, what do you give Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2?
Don't stone me, but I'd give it a 7 out of 10.
That's fair. I think I'd give this one an 8 out of 10. I feel like it's a solid 8 out of 10 for me. It's a fun movie, very comic booky. You know what you're signing up for. If you like the first Guardians, you're probably going to enjoy this movie in the very least, but it's not quite as good as the first Guardians. So yeah, guys, check out Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Let us know in the comments what you thought of this movie and speculations maybe towards future MCU films. Well, I guess, Steven, you don't have a Twitter, do you? This is usually where we plug our Twitters. But yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at SpinnyHand. You probably won't be seeing Steven anytime soon if you know him, because he's in South Korea. But yeah, Stephen, go ahead and do you have any work that we could tell the audience to look at of yours?
Nope,
Okay.
not really. You
Nothing.
can send me an owl, one that preferably can fly overseas and send me notes. You can email me or Facebook me.
Yeah, and we'll probably have Stephen back a couple times for some more summer blockbusters to give his international opinion. And that was really interesting insight about that theater that you told us about. So, yeah, I know that people like seeing you in the videos. So we'll try to have Stephen on board for a couple more movies throughout the summer, whatever he wants to see. But anyways, guys, until next time, bye.